All right, happy Tuesday, everybody. It is January 23rd, 2024, and we're here at precisealgorithmtrading.com. And I'm going to go ahead and go through the automated trading systems real quick. This is the Dow futures for the last 6 months, and we've had a little bit of a pullback after we had this nice rally here lately. I didn't show this yesterday, and really the last 2 days have been pretty rough. Again, after that rally we had, those we had a series of nice trades really up, from the really the 16th through the 19th, and we've given some of that back, and it's just that's normal. So, uh, literally on this equity curve, that's just a little bit of a give back here. So it's part of trading. The Russell here going straight up, but it has its give backs too, and we've actually here lately had some nice days. The 19th, 22nd, and 23rd here. So it's a little bit better. I think it's responding to the volatility better. And then we've had the uh, NASDAQ that had this giant pullback for almost 2 months. We've had this nice rally, and here today and yesterday we've had a little bit of pullback on that as well. And you can see the same kind of thing. We had better wins up here in the top around the 18th and 19th, and then we've given some back in the last couple days here. So uh, really a lot of losers in a row, but it's part of the game. So, but when you add it all up, and especially when you look at it on the longer term basis, which this is only 6 months, it's all just fine, and it's all part of the system. All right, going on to I'm going to do part two of this tonight. I started with some stuff about moving averages last night. I'm going to show this. This is our I call it a trend finder, but I'm going to take some of the stuff out of this just to make it simpler to see. So I'm going to go down here and take out the trailing stop. And again, this is the daily chart on the left, the hourly chart on the right. That also took away the colored candles, but I mean, as far as the I've got basically when the candles are trending, I've got them coloring either green for an uptrend or red for a downtrend. Um, I'm also going to take off these oscillators down here at the bottom. They are just for now, so we can just look and yeah, there we go. Continue, um, and see the action that's going on with the moving averages that I was talking about last night. Actually, I just take the one off, and that gives us a little bit more to look at here. So I'm also the purple line here. Um, so we got the zigzag, which I could take off, but it really is important. And then the yellow dots, those are the pivots. So they're showing higher highs and higher lows. And I could make the pivots, the higher highs, one color, and I could make the higher lows, or I should say the highs and the lows different colors. Um, but really, pivots are pivots, and I think you can look at it and see that it's a higher high, higher low. You can see that this action that was going up over here was higher highs and higher lows, and then when you break and you see the zigzag breaking down, you see lower highs and lower lows, and then it reverses. Um, but this purple line in here is a 15 period moving average, and the green and red is the 30 that I've been talking about. I'm going to take the purple out, even though I want you to see it when it's going down. It changes color. It's a pink, and when it's going up, it's the more lavender or purple line. So and literally that's just built in and saying when the thing is That's all it is. When it's going down, it's one color. When it's going up, it's another color. So I'm going to take it out just to clarify, because the same thing's happening with the green line. So that's the 15. There it is. So now it's gone, and I'm going to leave the white lines in there because that is an average true range. It's I think it's 2 up and 2 down, and that you could draw a middle line in there or have it automatically drawn, but it's kind of already, I can see the middle line, and it, generally speaking, sometimes, the price action is actually showing, because it's bouncing off the middle. So I don't really need to see it. It clutters up the thing. So, um, but my point here, this is the S&P 500, and we could look at it just as cleanly with, probably even cleaner maybe, with the SPX. And I've got these lines drawn in here, so I'm actually going to take them off just because, yeah, I don't want them to be in the way. But you can see, check this out, when the price breaks higher, and that means the candlestick closes higher than the uh, the 30 period moving average, that that it tends to, well, it's the polarity is flipping there. So we were going down, and then we flipped and went up. And when when you do that long enough, that moving average actually changes, because it it has to. The average continues to go with the price. If the price is going higher, then the average will turn from going down to going up, and it did it right there. So when that's happening, um, that in and of itself is a buy signal. Now it's a better buy signal if you line up a few things, like um, the higher time frame chart, or in this case, maybe the where you're at between the channels. If it's flipping like that and you're up against the upper channel, then it's going to probably pull back more than likely, because you look at, when the price gets above this upper channel, I'm talking about the dashed line, it doesn't go up for very long before it reverses. And you can see it here, it goes back and forth between those lines. Here it went up for a while, but it did pull back along the way. But while it was pulling back, those are all um, not necessarily buy signals I would take, but they're dips, and the green line was moving higher because it was green, and it didn't turn. It started to turn right there. I don't know if you can see that. It turned red, and then it turned back to green, but then it turned red, and price was underneath for a couple bars in a row even. And that would be a clue. So this is not an infallible system, but if you play this properly, let's say you you buy when this thing flips right here, and you put your stop under a pivot that makes sense. In this case, it would have been this low. Then yeah, you're risking from that price to that low, but look what happens if you're on the right side of that. And we have not had a significant enough pullback to even take out this green line one time in that whole move. So you might say, well, what's that mean? Well, let's take a look at AMAT here, which is just a random stock, but Applied Materials. And so in this case, we got a buy signal right here. It's a little green arrow on it and everything. It's right ahead of earnings, so I wouldn't have taken that personally, but once you have that in place and it comes up like this and then it pulls back like it did here, it's past earnings, and that is a buy signal for me. So I'm not saying I won't hold through earnings, I'm just saying I'm not likely to. So but then this thing just takes off, comes back up. You can see it hits this upper line, it pulls back all the way to the lower line, and now it's taken off back to the upside again. So every time it comes underneath this line, like you can move your stop up, and I keep my stop two stops back, two pivots, um, for the sake of just giving it enough room so that when it does pull down like this, that it literally didn't take out my stop and it's off to the races. And you can, by the way, do this over here on the right hand side is the hourly chart, but I'm going to keep it, I'm going to turn the left chart into an hourly chart just by doing this. Let's go back to the S&P 500. So those are showing aftermarket noise, and I'm going to take that all off. So but you can see here that, okay, you get a nice pop after this has been going down. There's another way of looking at this too, is you don't have to wait for it to turn green. It's above, and you can say, is it not falling as hard as it used to? In some of these cases, these things will fall like that. And then when it starts to turn, it's still red, but it's not falling as hard. I mean, it was so down so much. You can also count waves for what it's worth. And basically waves will get exhausted usually after 3 or 4 moves, and whether this is even counting these waves perfectly or not is this thing's a computer, so it's only doing it by the algorithm. But you could say this is one down, one up, two up, that's one down, and then you could go from here to here, and that's two down, and then you could go from there to there, and that's three down, and there's four down. So that was 4 waves down, and then you reverse. So these waves typically will work that way, and that's you can get some clue that way. This is kind of it's an imperfect science and a little bit of an art. So, but the point is, this works on these different time frames. Yeah, I could flip this to a 4-hour chart, and we can see that you go through some choppy areas here. But again, if this thing pulled down, put in this arrow, and I put my stop way back here, you're risking that much, sure. But then when it does pull back up and through, and then it pulled down again, you move your stop right to there, and you can see it tends, unless it's ready to roll over, if it's just going to go higher again, it tends to put in a higher low, and you just keep going. So that is, I know that was a long way to get there, but I wanted to show that for the sake of especially new people. So let's flip this thing back to the daily chart, and let's look at the we'll just leave it like this. I don't want to mess with it. Anyways, we're moving higher. This is the S&P, and it just keeps going. It's above these lines. It's at that upper line that I have drawn. It's for the last 2 days. It's been smushed up against it, and it is acting as at least some resistance. And you can see our oscillators down here, especially the stochastic, is in the upper reversal zone. So that it can stay there like it did back through here. So it doesn't have to just immediately reverse, but we're going to watch this for a reversal, since we're up here at the top. And we would expect it to at least come down back to the lower band, or thereabouts. But if you get a reversal like it did back here at the midline, that's a really strong move, and then this thing could blow out the top here. So that's the S&P. The Russell has already done this pullback. You can see we actually got a new buy signal yesterday, but you get this reversal today. This is where you could say, well, we got a new buy signal and you got a reversal, so we go, our stop if we were long on the Russell would be not this pivot, or at least mine wouldn't. It would be this pivot right here, or possibly even this group of pivots, and go to the lower one there, just to give yourself room. But again, We've come up, pulled back, come up, pulled back, and the question is, are we going to start putting in a lower high and going down from here, or are we going to just reverse from here and keep going higher? Right now we have fairly positive momentum still, even in the MACD down here. I'll explain that later in a whole nother video. The Dows have been the one that's really been holding up well, and we've been in this box. I'm going to go ahead and draw a box that literally will go like something like this around that price. It's a little obnoxious. I don't think I can make it opaque. Yeah, pretty obnoxious. But if you kind of look at it, it's really containing the price, and we could even probably pull it up here to the lowest pivot there. And the question is going to be, are we going to break out to the upside? And if we do, or are we going to break out to the downside? And normally that's what's going on. We're building up energy while we're going sideways here, and whichever way it breaks is going to be a fairly strong move. And there's a theory that it will go as high as it did wide through the consolidation period. That doesn't always play out, but that is something. And again, if you're going to make a bet, or if I was going to make a bet, through that consolidation, which way should it break out? It's going to break out in the direction of the trend, which is the 30 period moving average, unless the 30 period starts rolling over. And we got a little bit of we got a turn where it turned red right there, but this thing's been strong so long. Check this out back here. I mean, when it rolled over and turned red and stayed there. In the past, you can see here when it was starting to roll over, it turned green quickly, turned back to red, and then went to green, really showing the strength of the trend. Back through here, it went choppy sideways, and it went back and forth. So we can get any of those situations, but the fact that it's green, the path of least resistance is still up. All right, I'm going to keep going or hurry this up and wrap this up, but same story here. You can kind of see we're above the 2 average true ranges up, and that's the Nasdaq, and then oil it has still really hasn't broken those pivots yet. We need to get it to break that pivot to the upside, maybe get above that 2 average true ranges up, and that would be a nice breakout. We got it going on over here on the hourly chart. We've broken these pivots and hung around up there for a minute. So technically speaking, that is a break of structure to the upside, and we'll continue to watch it. And again, my pivot's down here now, my stop. So if we get a break, I might even pull my pivot up to here, my stop. So because if we get the break and these pivots are active, then you know, I'd be reducing my risk if we actually get a breakdown. But this is green, so the fact that it's trending higher now is an indication that we got potential for a higher trend, a new uptrend. And the IYT is the transportation index, and really it's had a little bit of a breakdown. We could go sideways for a bit and then make a decision here, but it's back to green again. So gold, GLD, is red. It's been green. It's flipped over to red. We could get some back and forth action, but at this point the trend looks like it should be going lower. And yeah, on the stochastics here, you could make the argument, well, we're in the lower reversal zone, so that's actually probably more indication of sideways until it comes back up into the upper reversal zone, and then from there I think we could see lower prices. And you could actually, if that plays that way, in fact, I'm going to go ahead and put in well, I got it there, I guess, an alert. I'm going to go ahead and create another one above this price. If it gets there, I might short it because we got this trend going lower, and I could put my pivot above that high right there. And if I'm wrong, I'll just be risking that much. If I'm right, we could go all the way back down here to these lows. All right, and now I'm going to flip over to stockcharts.com and do the bullish percent indexes. The industrials didn't move. The NYA minus 0.19%, which isn't very much at all. Transportation, it's up 7.14%, so looks pretty bullish. The NASDAQ up 1.17%. The SPX down 1.41%, so that's just enough to make it confusing. The OEX minus 2.74%, and then the NASDAQ 100 up 1.27%. So like it's been, there's really strength in the technology stocks. I mean, the NASDAQ, that's what they are. And we'll keep watching it. So I hope that helps everybody give you an indication of kind of where prices might be going, and really a little bit of how a trading system can work. And that can apply to, like I say, multiple time frames. And you can do multiple time frame analysis and try to keep yourself on the right side of a market. Till next time, take care.